I've had a few interviews about the science of racism so far, and something some of the interviewers have noticed is a distinct lack of focus on my emotions or anyone else's emotions. By that, I mean that you can read quite a lot of the book and you can find a lot out about the facts of what's going on, but you don't necessarily know how I feel about those facts or how I expect you or want you to feel about those facts. Some of that is deliberate. This is, after all, the science of racism. It's not the feelings of racism. I think there have been quite literally hundreds of books that could be described in one way or another as the feelings of racism, books that tell you how someone felt about the racism in their life or how they want you to feel about the racism in their life or in other people's lives. And I think those books are important, but they're not this book. That's not the book I wanted to write. But the second thing is that this is just kind of how I am, that in my day to day life, in my relationships, my friends, my family, people know that in general, before I want to talk about how people feel, I think it's important to establish the facts of what's going on. If we do not know the basic facts, the truth about what has happened or what is happening, and we're trying to talk about people's feelings about what happened or what is happening, we have skipped a step somewhere. I think the important first step is always to establish the facts, and then we talk about the feelings. That's how I think. And in many ways, this has led me to a kind of relaxed attitude about people's feelings. I'm pretty sure I've said to someone at some point that I don't care if people are racist in their own homes. You do you. That's your thing. That's your private thing. It's not my thing. So you want to be racist by yourself, that's fine, as long as you don't do anything that affects me or makes my life worse. And then I came across these papers, recent, relatively recent academic papers that challenged my perspective on that a bit. The first is one by Maketa and colleagues in 2017. For this paper, they want to know a lot of things, but one of the things was how group level measures of racism affect the health or predict the health of ethnic minorities in the area. So, for example, they'd go on a state by state basis and they'd measure two things. They'd measure how often people in that state did Google searches for racist stuff. So, how often would they Google the N word, for example, and they'd be clever enough to remove instances of song lyrics or whatever else. But how often people are just looking up the N word racistly, so they were just typing that into Google, and the health of Black people who lived in those areas. And they found that in states where people were more likely to be searching for the N word, the Black people who lived there were less healthy. Other research, like a 2022 review by Michaels and colleagues, looked at 14 similar studies, and they found that across all these studies, there was a reliable effect that these group level measures of racism, even private group level measures of racism, stuff you do in your house that I don't know about, these things predicted the ill health, the physical and mental ill health of the ethnic minorities who lived in those areas. I'm still very much myself. I still prefer facts, and that is still what I'll talk about first. But I think research like this is important for reminding us that, yes, facts really do matter, but even when they're private, even when they're just for you, even when they don't necessarily directly affect me, feelings matter too.